AI Law and Justice, session 34. In this session, we will be looking at AI in legal education, which is a very important topic for obvious reasons. So, let us do a recap of the previous session. In the previous sessions, we looked as to how AI can impact human rights positively and negatively. We also pointed out how innovations in AI can be banned or then use can be restricted on account of implications for human rights. Moreover, it was also emphasized that AI and human rights, that human rights should have a greater role in the governance of AI. In this session, we will look at a very important topic, that how AI can impact legal education and then what are the implications of deploying AI in legal education. So, if we take AI's role in legal education as a progressive one, we need to balance the progress and responsibility, because AI has got huge potential to revolutionize the way law is being taught, practiced, and understood. We have seen many examples for this earlier. More importantly, AI can streamline research, can enhance access to legal education and also legal resources. It provides novel solutions for complex legal challenges, and this again we have seen earlier. But then there are significant ethical and sustainable challenges when we talk of AI in legal education. We will deal with them in detail in this class. And also there is a need to do some rigorous investigation into these challenges and dilemmas. Because when we talk of sustainability, we need to think beyond mere environmental concerns. We need to bring in ethics, equity, and long-term viability of AI-drawn practices. Why? Because AI is not just a technology. AI is also a technology that has got long-term implications in terms of resource utilizations, in terms of ethics, which we have seen in terms of equity and other things. So ethical standards and sustainability should go together. We should bring in a sense of sustainability when we talk of AI. So a protective relationship between environment and humanity should be part of the legal education, where we also discuss about the long-term implications of actions and policies including AI. So sustainability ethics can inform and then can get integrated into legal education, particularly in the context of AI. Because we need to think in terms of various domains like education, law, technology, and then see whether we can address these sustainability of complex issues and sustainability through them. And decisions which we make today on account of AI, in the sense that going for large-scale AI adoption, have significant impact for future generations and also for future use of resources. So what are the long-term implications of AI adoption, particularly in legal education? It will have long-term implication on privacy and equity. Increased prevalence of AI in legal education practice is also going to impact heavily. We need to bring in sustainability, integrate it, so that it is also becoming part of the institutionalized decision making. And this should also inform the development of curriculum and resource allocation. We have seen the various issues relating to biases in AI algorithms. We also seen how fairness and inclusivity need to be promoted as part of responsible AI and ethical AI. We have also seen that certain issues related to AI need some long-term thinking. So when we think in terms of AI's long-term impacts, including resource allocation, we need to identify what are the resources, investments that would be needed for AI in legal education. Then how do we optimize them? So there is a need to train faculty. There is also a need to bring in the whole idea of sustainability that goes beyond mere thinking in terms of environmental resources. So if we conceptualize sustainability as meeting today's needs without compromising the future generations, then lawyers should be trained to meet some of these things. Of course, lawyers have been trained. Almost all law schools have some curriculum relating to environmental law and environmental treaties and other things as part of the regular coursework. And many law schools, many universities have specialized centers on environmental law or environmental education. So the lawyer's understanding of environmental issues are very important. But then AI brings in one more layer there because of the AI's impact on environment. Two, how AI's long-term implications have serious environmental repercussions is something which a lot of attention also being paid to. So integrating environmental sustainability in law curriculum is done in many universities in England. And then environmental law itself has emerged as a very specialized field. So integrating AI into the environmental law will again need lot of groundwork to be covered in both. Having said that, we should also look how legal education can advance sustainability by finding the right practices, principles across social, economic, and cultural dimensions, sustainability as a framework to guide the ethical decisions, and applying it across various legal domains, including various practices, not just environmental law. Or put it another way around, environmental sustainability should go beyond thinking about that in environmental law alone. It should be something that should be part and parcel of each and every law course on different law legal disciplines. So we need the global goal of sustainable development. Sustainable development goals have been already approved and then everyone has accepted them. So how legal profession can bring some of these into the discussion on AI and environmental law, or AI in the legal education is equally important. We need to discuss that. So when we see this, we need to bring in international law, trade law, human rights law into coursework, particularly in the context of their implications for AI. Then many large firms, including legal universities, law schools, have got their own sustainability footprint and assessments, resource optimizations, resource minimization, recycling, reuse, or go for the 3R formula. So promoting social responsible ethical governance as part of the greening of the law school's curriculum or law school's day-to-day practices is gaining currency. And then future lawyers should be all the more sensitized to some of these things so that they are very well aware of some of the things. And then lawyers have a greater role in drafting, interpreting, and enforcing sustainable regulations both within their institutions as well as elsewhere. So when we prepare students to get trained in government agencies or to face the world as lawyers or as bureaucrats or civil servants, we need to again and again tell them that sustainability in legal operations or sustainability framework should be part and parcel of your core thinking. But sustainability also needs lots of interdisciplinary collaboration where we need to identify other areas like economics, engineering, history, politics, sociology, so that we get a comprehensive interdisciplinary understanding of environmental sustainability from a legal perspective. And of course, there are inevitably ethical issues, environmental justice issues, particularly in the context of climate change, and then equity, and then future well-being of the generations. So these things need to be taken into account. And more importantly, when we say sustainability in legal education, we do not think in terms of 2 years or 3 years or for 1 semester course or 2 semester course or for 1 5-year course. We need to have a longer vision, longer idea as to how sustainability can be integrated as part of all the work which we do in the law institutions. Now comes the challenge of integrating AI in the legal curriculum. One easy way to begin is to bring courses on AI and law, particularly the ones that give coverage, comprehensive coverage to legal tech and data privacy. Of course, we have discussed about how AI is also doing a lot of innovative things in AI-assisted legal research. That should be part and parcel of that. So practice simulations can be done. Legal tech hackathons and competitions can be held. Some of the law schools are also becoming hubs for legal tech companies. So they can also become innovation hubs. And then ethical considerations need to be brought in. More importantly, research opportunities in law and ethics and then AI law should be expanded. And then AI can be part and parcel of legal clinics, whether it is done as part of an outreach or part of any other initiative. Then in both continuing legal education, which is also called as CLE, or distance and other proximate legal education, environmental sustainability is already there. But then we need to bring in AI also into that. So AI can facilitate access to justice. So when law schools do programs on access to justice, they should inevitably bring AI as a new tool which can promote access to justice. And of course, AI as the tools, legal research practice simulations are already there. Many of the law schools now mandate that students undergo training in AI tools and data analytics, or at least one of the AI tools. Of course, students themselves are using a lot of legal AI tools. Even faculty are using many of them, which are much more than just ChatGPT or Canva. So AI-based practice simulation programs, AI-based simulation programs, AI-based other tools also being used in law institutions. But these things, when they are brought into legal education, particularly in the university level framework, we need to bring in some ethical and regulatory concerns. Governance for ethical and regulatory frameworks need to be brought in. And then students should be taught as to how they should navigate these AI related technologies and then the challenges, particularly hallucinations, fake data, and then the ethics in using AI generated materials, and then how they should deal with AI in the ethical way. And more importantly, students should be sensitized on AI related research, the pluses and minuses of that, and then the opportunities and challenges they will be facing when they rely more and more on that. So, this again should be part of not just the regular coursework or regular legal education, but also the continuing ones and then other legal programs. So, legal education AI can do wonders. It can improve the efficiency in legal tasks. It can also help in understanding complex tasks. Then there are also the problem of increased AI reliance may result in compromising essential legal skills, as people may tend to delegate some of those things to AI tools and don't think that AI tools can take care of. We will need not do that. But this can result in some of the essential legal skills being not honed or not fully utilized. Then critical thinking and analytical reasoning are part and parcel of the law school's curriculum, where students are taught in depth on both critical thinking and analytical reasoning. This anyway they would do it when they practice law. So this again should not be compromised for the simple reason that AI tools in future will do a lot of very similar work. Or there should be no compromising on inculcating critical thinking and analytical reasoning development among the law students. But we have also noticed, in fact, we have been discussed that there are a lot of new challenges introduced by AI. And then how do we ensure that wherever AI is used, there is always human oversight is there, human is in the loop, and AI's use does not go simply unregulated. More importantly, in the context of legal education, students should develop the legal skills in such a way that they are able to get a holistic understanding of the AI's utilization, merits as well as limitations. So, careful integration of AI tools without the need to diminish the essential skills is equally important. But we also have discussed, particularly in the context of AI and law and justice in India, that AI access to AI legal tools is not something that is available to all. Then there's a huge disparity, just like digital divide in that. And the same thing is equally applicable to AI in legal education because not all law schools or universities are well endowed to go for AI, and not all schools have been fully digitized to uptake AI in a simple way. So, legal education can help develop policy and guidelines, but the divide among educations that impart legal education in terms of AI capacity should not be there. In the sense that similar to digital divide, this divide should not be allowed to expand. It should be contained, if not totally controlled. Which means that while AI can enhance access to justice, legal schools that are part of the AI revolution should also try to ensure that access to such tools are also being made available. Then legal law schools and law universities should identify the right legal tools so that they can be brought to the legal profession. Otherwise, there is a proliferation of legal tools and the legal based AI solutions and applications. Mindless application of them can result in harmful or unanticipated consequences. So, careful assessment of their relevance should be done, and then only they should be brought into the curriculum or for practice. As of now, they are also incorporating the AI related topics either as an optional course or as part of the regular courses. But then more emphasis should be drawn to integrate AI into the part of the parcel of the regular coursework framework, where students should be able to critically estimate and then understand how AI can transform different disciplines in law. And more importantly, law universities should also anchor and then promote legal innovations where students can also play a major role. So lawyers should be prepared for a changing landscape where AI-based innovation is going to play a major role. Again, all this comes with ethical regulatory challenges. Now, according to one survey, 33% of the institutions regularly use generative AI tools in UK. In the Indian context, we do not have any specific studies, but I can say from my own experience and from many others that students are using more and more AI tools than ever before. So is the case with faculty. And this is the case generally with many people who are using AI tools. But AI driven research tools and virtual assistants have not been fully developed or available in India, although many students are using it or some law firms are using it to a great extent. So there is a need for students to get support in them, and also they should ensure that what exactly they are trying to derive from them, so that they are not unduly become overly optimistic stating that they can rely entirely on them, nor they should be fearful of them. So the collaboration with legal tech companies can drive many things in a positive direction, so that students, law universities, legal education imparting institutions can benefit. More importantly, engagement of these institutions will also benefit in development and deployment of appropriate and relevant AI tools in the context of India. And then there can be, in fact, there are AI powered adaptive learning platforms that are getting developed or partially in use. So these can be suited for individual needs or for specific coursework or to make certain things easy to understand or and to comprehend. So we can also go one step further and say that machine learning algorithms can be used to assess students' performance or for other proactive engagement in the legal education. There are lots of tools, promising tools and platforms which are in vogue now. Some of the examples from UK include Westlaw's Edge and then Lex Machina. They scan vast quantity of large databases. They can identify the relevant cases and then with legal accuracy and statutes and try to build a pattern or alignment of different cases with different rationale. And then the Kira and e-discovery, they can also go through a lot of senses of documentation. They can pick up key clauses, identify key parameters, and then extract vital information, particularly of financial nature. They can also identify inconsistencies within documents or across documents. This is very, very important when a law firm or a legal or a lawyer or a student has to deal with an enormous quantity of documents, particularly commercial documents. Some of these available software also stimulate online negotiation environments so that online alternative dispute resolution mechanisms can be put to practice, and then simulation will give an idea without really getting into the picture as to how developments can happen. What if this party makes this as a compromise proposal? What are the options available to the other party? And if the other party does this, what are the other options available to the first party that came up for a compromise proposal? So simulations will give better idea about the opportunities available, the challenges, the risks, but then simulation is not a substitute for the real action. So personalized learning platforms can be developed. Virtual assistants, some of them are bots are already available in different countries, although not in law. But of course, we have seen one or two examples in the earlier sessions. So they can make legal education much more interesting, much more interactive for students. And then all these things are going to impact the legal education in the long run significantly. To begin with, in the short term, we may see some small incremental steps, but then they will take a leapfrog after a few years. But to ensure that there is equitable access to all the AI tools is important. Right now, this is a major barrier, particularly among the law universities and the legal educational institutions. So this should be addressed. Then there are issues like data privacy and then security. So sufficient safeguards should be brought in over there. Sensitive student data should not be exposed to AI systems without prior informed consents, nor AI systems should be used to analyze them. In the sense that for developing machine learning systems or for developing algorithms or for other test data purposes. So algorithmic biases, algorithmic issues, transparency and accountability, and then more importantly, ethical use of AI generated content should be there. Otherwise, we need to strictly bring in responsible AI principles and the ethical AI guidelines when we incorporate AI into the legal educational framework. Then we have discussed about all the potential positive impacts. And then AI, we all know that can stimulate a lot of things, can help people to understand certain things better, and then can enhance their capacity to do certain things much more efficient way. And then, of course, sustainability we have already discussed. So, when we say, why are we talking of AI and sustainability? There are two major concerns here. One of them is not addressed in depth in this course because it is beyond the purview of the course. One, in the last few years, there has been much more concern about the AI's environmental impact because all the data centers and then all the large language models and everyone, they are very power intensive in the sense that they consume lots of electricity. But then data centers also need huge quantities of water. They need other resources to be set up over there. And more importantly, some of the resources which are used for data centers are also the critical raw minerals over which there on the extraction and use of which there's a huge geopolitical slugfest going on. So the idea is that using AI more and more will need more and more electricity and then other resources which could result in not just resource constraint but also conflicts over resource utilization. Particularly in context where AI data centers are set up in water starved areas or areas where water is not fully available for human consumption. This is the first dimension where we talk of the AI's environmental impact, data centers environmental impact. The second thing comes in a different way. Because when we talk of AI sustainability, we need to bring in the factors which go beyond the first factor, which means that equity, we need to bring in the long-term sustainability perspective. Also, we need to bring in whether unbridled or AI consumption, increasing it beyond at all cost for all purposes is really necessary and desirable. More importantly, when AI training and then developing of AI, deploying of AI materials is very resource intensive and time consuming, professionals should also think as to what exactly are their professional commitments in terms of sustainability. Should they become enthusiastic AI advocates for AI at all costs, irrespective of the environmental cost, or should they try to look at AI developments through a sustainability lens? Then incorporating ethical considerations we have already seen. So embedding sustainability ethics in the broader deployment and use of AI is one. And then understanding the environmentality sustainable issues in the broader development of AI and then related developments like data centers, the overall digitization is also equally important. Then we need to bring in diversity in AI adoption, particularly in the law schools where diversity is a major issue, so that students, irrespective of their caste, class, gender, are given access to AI tools, are also trained well in AI tools. So inclusive learning frameworks are important because we know that AI has got a huge bias discrimination problem, particularly the gender discrimination. So to avoid that, we should ensure that all the legal frameworks, AI frameworks which are put to use in law schools and law universities should be devoid of these biases and discriminations. And then what are the systematic barriers that bar different segments of the students and faculty in utilization, getting trained, and then putting to practice AI tools needs to be identified. And then AI tools, when deployed carelessly or without paying attention to digital divide, can actually make the divide worse. So equitable access to AI-driven resources should be there. And more importantly, ethical implications of AI should be taken into account. Align AI only with ethical principles. And then we have seen equitable access to AI tools, which is equally important. So to do all that, we need to develop a framework. So we connect the broad linkage between AI, sustainability, ethics as for 3-4 things coming together. AI, sustainability, ethics, and then we also need to bring in ethical issues related to bias, fairness. So we have the 4 dimensions here. Of course, transparency, this is also part of that. So we have to think in terms of sustainable AI practices, focusing on AI ethical implications in AI-based decision making, and also the larger issues in environmental sustainability and then environmental justice in the context of AI, critical raw minerals, data centers, and the broader context of increasing use of digitized or digitalization of the society, where we go for more and more use of digital media and then digital resources. But this is not something that can be done easily, because it needs to start with awareness, it needs to start with understanding, and more importantly, it needs to start with some good practices in incorporating them. So sustainability AI principles has to be developed, taking into account the long-term well-being of the future generations to come, and then the long-term implications of AI use on a massive scale across the society, across the world, in various sectors. So the theoretical framework for ethical AI adoption has to be an interdisciplinary, collaborative one, where we think beyond the legal perspective on AI. So the tension between AI ethics and sustainability comes because the traditional AI ethics does not focus on sustainability aspect. It focuses on fairness, it focuses on equity, privacy, accountability, responsibility. And it does take into account algorithmic bias and decision making. Of course, human rights are also part of that. But sustainability in AI takes into account the broader environmental impacts of AI technologies, the broader environmental impacts of AI development, particularly in the context of huge data centers, their resource utilization, resource constraints, and then competing and multiple claims for access to resources. So the environmental justice perspective, climate justice perspective should inform this. So when we talk of AI ethics in a narrow perspective without sustainability, that does make sense, but then that remains too narrow. So incorporating sustainability into the traditional AI ethics principles is important, but then the ethical principles, they may not be fully compatible with sustainable goals. There could be violation. For example, data protection transparency will need more and more AI capacity, more and more AI algorithms, in the sense that not just black boxes, but also large external AI models, related systems, which would again need more consumption of power, water, and other resources. So it can be hypothesized that when we talk of AI ethics, we are not going to restrict the use of AI. Rather, we would be demanding more and more use of AI resources in terms of LLMs, in terms of white boxes, in terms of models that would do a lot of external AI, would meet the criteria for responsible AI. But this again would result in more and more consumption. So sustainability perspective from that angle, how far this is really good for the environment needs to be investigated into. But we need not take a view that data protection and transparency should be given up at the cost of environmental protection or vice versa. The idea here is that identify that there is a potential tension, see how best this could be harmonized or how best this could be bridged. So data protection transparency should not be compromised at the cost of environmental sustainability and vice versa. Instead, the idea would be that how do we resource utilization, resource optimization can be used to minimize the use of resources. For example, there's a whole movement towards greening up AI, in which the UNEP is also making a major share. And then in the Paris AI Summit, there was an initiative that was launched as part of the global frameworks on it. And then many companies are coming up or working towards AI systems that are not so power intensive and resource intensive. So the idea of greening AI is to ensure that AI is not becoming a power-hungry monster that would gobble up all the available resources for its own sake. So we need to bring in AI ethics plus sustainability, not just AI ethics alone or sustainability alone. We need to bring these two things together so that, and then get them incorporated in the legal education, so that in future as well as the current generation of lawyers are aware of these issues. So again, data usage, long-term implications, long-term need for so much of capacity in terms of servers, and then all these things we need to bring in. So it's the question of equity to access to technology. And idea here is that we do not balance in the name of other, and we do not talk of compromising in the name of one for the sake of other. Rather, we try to harmonize, identify the ticklish issues, and then try to resolve them amicably. Although there could be potential issues which could not be resolved amicably, which means that we need to develop AI tools, models, and systems that have got sustainability as a core development principle. So the development models should also be environmentally sound, and then they should not be power hungry, they should not be resource hungry. And then increasing the environmental footprint is not something that should be the goal. Rather, decreasing the footprint by developing models that do not increase the footprint are more important. And how AI can be leveraged for sustainable development is a huge topic. Good potential is there. In fact, AIs have a major role in realizing all the 17 sustainable development goals. But that again we will not cover in this course. So digital divide, equitable access, bringing sustainability into that, all these things can be important parts of the legal education, so that students and then the faculty and then others are also sensitized to some of these concerns. And then the AI-driven pedagogy should be sensitized to ethical considerations, including changes in the assessment practice, ensure that algorithms are transparent, methods are transparent, there is no harm or there's no bias or there's no inbuilt discrimination. More importantly, don't perpetuate or exacerbate the current inequalities. And then the access to education resources should be on equitable basis. So AI in legal education is not simply deploying AI in legal education. Rather, AI in legal education, holistically, broadly speaking, means incorporating ethical and then sustainability considerations in the legal education framework as a core component. Of course, there are pull and push factors in AI adoption which are obvious. I'm not going to talk much about them. So, AI integration, AI adoption should again be thought in terms of the longer perspective. Think in terms of sustainable AI integration, where we address the digital divide, we address the AI biases, we promote ethical AI, we try to think in terms of optimizing or resource minimization. We also value certain values in sustainable ethics, bring them as part of the core AI responsibility frameworks. And more importantly, we should also be sensitive to the fact that in future there could be issues which we might not have anticipated. So AI in legal education should be an agile, forward-looking enterprise or a framework that brings AI ethics plus sustainability plus harnessing AI in legal education. Or in other words, the challenges of AI for legal education are not mere technical or not mere those are related to human resources or infrastructure. At their core lies is the issue of AI and sustainability, and then AI ethics and then accountability. In the next class, we will discuss about AI and constitution. That again will be in 2 sessions. The part 1 will be the next session where we will talk about AI and constitution.